A massive study analyzing over 588,000 running sessions has begun to rewrite our understanding of injury risk and resilience in runners. Instead of relying on abstract theories or small clinical samples, this research draws on real-world data from thousands of athletes over long periods of time. The findings challenge many long-held assumptions, chief among them the idea that injuries are the simple result of too much running. What emerges is a more nuanced, and in some ways more alarming, picture. Injury risk is less about total mileage and more about the timing, intensity, and context of how that mileage is accumulated. At the core of the study is a shift in how we think about stress and adaptation. The traditional view holds that injuries occur when cumulative training loads exceed the body's capacity to recover. But the data suggests this is only part of the story. In many cases, injuries occur not because a runner has done too much over time, but because of a single poorly timed, overly intense, or ill-prepared session. One spike in intensity or one hard run under the wrong conditions, fatigue, dehydration, poor sleep, can be enough to tip the balance toward breakdown. The implication is sobering. Even runners who carefully track weekly mileage and follow conservative progression rules are not immune. Another critical insight from the study is that risk is rarely linear. Most runners assume that the more they train, the more danger they face. But the data shows that injury risk often stays relatively low, even during high-volume weeks, until it suddenly rises sharply. This tipping point doesn't always correspond with the highest mileage. Instead, it appears when runners combine intensity, frequency, and fatigue in a compressed window. In other words, it's not just how much you run, but how close together your hard sessions are, and how well you've recovered before each one. Resilience is not simply built by running more, it's built by running smarter. Interestingly, the research also reveals a wide range of individual variability. Some runners tolerate large, sudden increases in training with little consequence, while others break down under seemingly modest stress. This variability isn't random. It appears tied to underlying factors like previous injury history, strength imbalances, sleep quality, and even psychological state. Two runners can perform the same training block and experience completely different outcomes. This finding undermines the idea that there's any one-size-fits-all training formula and raises serious questions about the reliability of generic advice given by many apps and coaching platforms. Perhaps most importantly, the study shows that early warning signs often exist, but they are easy to miss. Subtle shifts in performance metrics, stride dynamics, or recovery trends often precede injury by several days or even weeks. The problem is that runners rarely pay attention to these signs until pain arrives. Worse, many wearable devices and tracking apps do not yet detect or contextualize these subtle shifts effectively. The danger lies in the illusion of precision. Runners may be told they are in a green, training state by their watch, only to suffer a tendon strain or a stress fracture days later. The findings also raise ethical concerns about the use of training algorithms that give recommendations without understanding individual context. A watch may suggest a tempo run, but it doesn't know you slept 4 hours, skipped breakfast, and are emotionally drained. The study underscores the importance of integrating subjective awareness, mood, stress, soreness, mental fatigue, into training decisions. No device can currently do that as well as the human brain. And that means that personal judgment, not just data, must guide recovery and intensity choices. Still, the data also tells a hopeful story. Many runners improved steadily, avoided injury, and even returned from setbacks stronger than before. What set them apart wasn't luck, it was adaptability. They responded to signs of strain early, adjusted their training before breakdown occurred, and prioritized rest as much as effort. Resilience, in the end, wasn't about being tough. It was about being responsive, flexible, and honest about what the body could handle on any given day. This landmark study doesn't offer easy answers. But it does offer a new framework, one that recognizes the fragility of the human body, the unpredictability of stress, and the limits of simplified advice. It shows us that injury risk is dynamic, contextual, and deeply personal. And it calls for a smarter, more nuanced approach to training, one that respects the body's signals and acknowledges that running well isn't just about pushing forward, but knowing exactly when to pull back.